We'll call this board meeting, June 21st, school board meeting to order, please. You'll stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just for the record, it was at 6:04. Okay. I hear a motion to set the agenda.
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda.
Second. Okay, go ahead.
Can I hear who's the first and second again?
I made it.
We have just a little bit of discussion.
Yeah.
I did kind of an executive move for this evening. I put the executive session at the end of the agenda. I did that in response to some conversations I've had with teachers who said during the school year that when we have an executive session at the first of the meeting, that we leave everybody sitting here for a long time. So if you could have it afterwards, that would be really great. So I moved it. This is kind of a trial run. I do realize that tonight's executive session has got a superintendent contract, and if you would like to move that back to a first part of the meeting, that would certainly be within your purview.
I'm comfortable with it being at the end.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
You certainly don't want to talk about a superintendent contract when we're nice and fresh, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so are you ready?
If you're ready for a vote, board members, did it pop up on your screen for the vote?
No,
Nothing.
Well, we'll just call it out and I'll mark it, and then we'll learn more later about it.
We're getting there.
Frazier.
Aye.
Paul.
I.
Hart.
I.
Noyes.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Wells.
Aye.
Wright.
I.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move on to our presentations. We have the Community Intervention Program introduction. So if we could have you ladies.
So we'll introduce ourselves real quick. My name is Jessica Borden with the Cortez Fire Protection District. I serve as a contract supervisor with the Community Intervention Program.
And I'm Haley Leonard Saunders. I'm the Director of Public Relations and the Public Information Officer for Access Health System. And we provide the behavioral health clinician for the community intervention.
Yeah, so to tell you all a bit about the Community Intervention Program, it's a co-responder team. And the purpose of this team is to provide the appropriate resources to individuals who are dealing with a behavioral health crisis or substance abuse issues. And because in the past we found as like firefighter paramedics and as police officers, we don't have the tools to help these people in our community. We end up taking to the emergency room, and the emergency room doesn't have the correct resources. And so they get discharged, and we just continue to run on individuals and keep putting them through the cycle. And so this program has two goals: get people the appropriate resources, and then second is to lessen the burden on our 911 services in Montezuma County. So they have a program like this in Plata County, or I'm sorry, Durango, the city of Durango already, where Access has behavioral health professionals that are paired with police officers in the city of Durango. In Montezuma County, we decided to pair a behavioral health specialist with an EMT. And so that's how Cortez Fire is involved with this program, is we provide the EMTs and then Access provides the behavioral health specialists. And so this program went into effect on May 2nd of this year. This number is, as of Friday, they've had 62 call-outs since they've been in service. And the great thing about this program is they are mainly 911 based. So if someone calls 911, they'll get dispatched with police, and police will go and clear that scene and make sure it's safe for the CIP team to go in. And then once it's safe for them to be there, they cut the police loose. And so then law enforcement is able to go and take a call that they wouldn't be because they were tied up with an individual for hours.
So-
End of the day, I hate it when I lose my train of
No,
thought.
it's okay. We've
Yeah,
already
so-
seen a lot of really great outcomes just in this short amount of time. If you add the follow-up calls, they're well above 80 calls for service at this point. The beautiful thing about this is this team has the time to work with people one-on-one, and they're able to go to the scene, which is usually someone's home, and see what's happening. So whereas a behavioral health provider in clinic doesn't get to see those kind of things, neither do medical providers to really see what's going on in someone's home and work with them as a family one-on-one to look at the social determinants of health and figure out what these people need and what is really the root cause of some of the issues that they're having. And when we started planning for the program, one of the calls that stood out when we were looking at dispatch data with Cortez PD is a family called because their kid wouldn't go to bed. They called 911. And that just,
Sorry.
it just made our hearts sing. That person was obviously stressed to the point where they didn't know where else to turn, didn't know that there were tools to maybe help them, maybe hadn't attended a parenting club. There's just so many resources in this community. We are surprisingly rich in resources for our size that could have helped that person. So we're really hoping that they'll be able to help with family systems, give people the right coaching and tools, and also be able to get people into higher levels of care, whether that be outpatient therapy or primary care, or perhaps something higher than that. But beautiful thing is they have tons of resources, and it seems to be working so far.
Haley got me back on track. So what I was going to say about the program is the nice thing is the follow-up. So they don't go and get on scene and talk to a person and then leave them. Charlie, who's the behavioral health specialist, follows up with people daily from 3 days to over a week. And so that's something we can't do as EMS providers, law enforcement. And that's where, with having a behavioral health specialist, that's huge in the community because it provides people with that support that they need, that if they decide they want to be sober, then, they have that follow-up of, hey, just checking to see how your progress is with this. And they have that support, and they know they have, some place that they can call. And so it's been really great. Actually, the first day that the team was in service, they went to the Mancos School District for a kiddo that was having some trouble. So we wanted to speak with you today to let you know that this service is out there, and we are more than happy to assist anyone in the school district that, it might be, in the school itself, or you might know about a problem at home that needs to be addressed. And so the team is available Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. right now. We're working on getting a second behavioral health specialist, and then we'll have coverage 7 days a week. If you needed them outside of those hours, we do have a referral form, and I'm going to email that to Deb so that she can share that throughout the district. So you can go fill out that form, email it to the CIP email address listed on the form, and then our team will reach out to that person and see how they can help.
They also have backup with our 24/7 mobile crisis team that is based out of Durango, but we have providers over here. So if there was a need, say in the middle of the night, there is a resource for that too. You don't have to wait.
Any questions?
I have a couple of questions. So this is not age restrictive, so it's anybody in the community.
Correct.
The other question is, so we have the Safe to Tell where kids can call Safe to Tell. Are you guys interlocked with that anyway?
No.
Okay,
It's outside of that system. 'Cause
Okay.
that comes very specifically through law enforcement. There can be interaction that safety health team can refer over.
Okay.
It's just not like an interconnected.
okay, but you could maybe relay something that seemed like it might be worthy of passing it on?
Yep,
Okay.
yeah, we, in Durango, at least we get a lot of calls from law enforcement who ask for prices to follow up with a safety health call. Because it is nice to have an unmarked vehicle show up at a house after hours instead of cop car, if they're just coming to check in on someone.
Anything else?
And I was, it's an unmarked vehicle, and that's a part of the whole scheme of this. We're trying to lay low. It's not meant to be a big time intervention. They're in a transit van. They can pull somebody into the van to sit down with them. There's a table, benches, and they can talk. They have water bottles and snacks and other resources. So they're able to do a lot of just-in-time supports for people, and not in the public or, cop car in front of someone's house.
Right.
So to access this service, you call it 911.
It's through 911, and they do have a triage system to make sure that it's safe for the team to respond. If there's any threat of violence, weapon, the scene has to be cleared by law enforcement. It's the same with the crisis team.
Thank you.
And if there's any, if principals want us to come to the schools and talk to the staff, we're more than happy to do that. I'm just working on getting the word out about the program so folks know that it's out there and you don't have to deal with these things by yourself.
Good to know.
Yeah, we're always happy to do training.
Yeah. Well, if you don't have any more questions, thank you very much for your time and having us today.
So, Thank you for your meeting,
Thank you.
and thank you for your time at the strategic planning as well. Okay. All righty, we're moving on to approval of minutes. 4A, approval, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from 5/16/22 board meeting?
Make a motion to accept 5/16 board meeting minutes.
Second.
And we will probably have to vote on these individually.
Any changes, discussion? We're aware of, okay.
Frazier.
Aye.
Hall.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Joyce.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Wells.
Aye.
Wright.
Okay. For B, approval of the minutes from June 7th, 22 special meeting. Your motion for that?
I'll make the motion to approve the meeting minutes from 6/7/22.
A second.
Any changes or discussion on those minutes? All righty, Deb, whenever you're ready.
Frazier.
Aye.
Hall.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Noyes.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Wells.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
All right, section 5, reports. A, celebration reports. Celebration reports.
Strategic planning. However, really well, so.
Really well.
Yes, it did.
We're really, really well. It was brought up at strategic planning by somebody about that movie, Lean on Me. So I watched it last night.
Yeah, Mindy.
I guess this could be a celebration, because I thought it was pretty appropriate that, because a lot of our discussion of strategic planning was about discipline and attendance and stuff. And there was a quote in there that I had to even go back and Google it today to find it. But he made a quote in there: discipline is not the enemy of enthusiasm. I thought, man, that's a really good saying. That's really good.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm just trying to think here, my brain's been.
Board docs up and running.
Yes, we do. We have board docs up and running.
Trying to figure it out.
And Canopy policies in our queue.
Um, Well, besides the rain, yes,
More to come, hopefully.
Well, wait for my hazel.
righty.
Yeah, we don't want to mess it.
No, we don't want my hay messed up. It can rain all around and just, I've been praying, God, let it rain everywhere except over my hay. And thank you for honoring my request.
That's right.
All right. Superintendent's report, Mr. Burris.
Good evening, board. A couple of extras that aren't on my board report. I did contact, I had a community member contact me about the emergency planning that exists or doesn't exist in the schools. And so I contacted Rex Brinkerhoff at the PD, and when I was here before, we had an emergency plan that we had where the fire department was going to stage, where the ambulance would stage, where we would have command centers, how we would get kids out of buildings, how we would get those kids back together with their parents. And he said, I haven't seen that. So we're going to have to redo that. And I'm going to work with those community members that contacted me and contact the PD and kind of start that whole process again. Thank you, Nurse Jeanette, for pulling my stitches out that I missed my appointment Wednesday with strategic planning. Got that all taken care of. In my board report, it's interesting with board docs, the formatting doesn't look like the formatting that I did, so I'll have to work on that somehow. With the strategic planning, there were some initiatives that I was wanting to take care of pretty quickly. Attendance, after I talked to Todd Plew and Judge Walker. They said that we could use the attendance from this year and we could send out letters for those almost 400 kids that says you were habitually truant last year and the law says this. So Deb is working on getting me a appointment with Judge Plew to hammer out the elements of that letter. And then I reached out to Debbie Such, who worked for me at the middle school, and she and I did attendance and we went to court and did all those things. She's interested in working for me again. So we will see where that goes. I'll let you know. Manaw, we recently found more asbestos at Manaw. It will be abated and we'll go from there. I also was informed by Brad that we have a handful of students who are being transported from PV to Lewis and also town to Lewis. And we need to look at our policy, which I read, and it says back in the old days of NCLB, this is how long it's been since we've reviewed the policies. Back in the days of NCLB, NCLB said that if you had a higher performing school and you were at a lower performing school, that at the cost of the district, you could have your kids transported to that other school. Guess what's still in our policy? So that needs to be changed. And the other piece of the policy says that if people would like their children to go to a school outside of their attendance area, that they were responsible for transporting. So that'll be something we address this summer. I've reached out to PV, to specifically Tim Lanier, and I'm going to talk to the staff Tuesday about what we did with strategic planning. I'm concerned about staffing for next year. Ms. Selvage may have already said it, maybe in her report. We're 18 staff members down at Manaw. How many at the middle school? 11?
Actually,
14.
it shows 13, but Drew informed us today that there was an additional 2, so 15,
And at the high school?
10. So overall, throughout the district, there's almost 50.
That's a lot. I appreciate everybody showing up at graduation. I missed some of my stuff here. I appreciate the board and my administrative team sitting on the stage. I think it's important for us to be seen at those. Phil Casper, if Phil's watching, I hope you're doing better, speedy recovery. He broke his leg in an accident on the farm, and I'm hoping he's getting better fast. I attended a meeting on 6/14 with Judge Clue and Judge Walker, and that's where we started discussing the whole issue of taking kids back to court. This time, though, which will be better, I spent a boatload of money when I was here before on a lawyer to actually do the legal components and then go to court, and GALs, guardian ad litem's, represented the kids and all that kind of thing. They're doing a much more streamlined and much more reasonable way to take kids to court, and that's the way we're going to do it. I had a very good meeting with the girls' soccer parents. This goes back a little ways. They were concerned about travel. Thank you, Stacy, for helping with that one. We have looked at the universities for the Grow Your Own, and Eastern New Mexico University they are the least expensive. That's who I used in Roswell, and they will cut us the same deal. They'll give us in-state tuition, and I personally know that the classes are accepted in Colorado for licensure.
Did you reach out to PCC?
Pardon me?
Did you reach out to PCC?
I
Are they
did.
willing to work with us? Not really?
They are, but they're not as robust on the distance learning things. They want face-to-face,
Okay.
more face-to-face. June 2nd, we had an administrators retreat at my house in Mancus. The cooking was great. We didn't talk about any school business and just kind of visited around. I appreciate the board and I appreciate everything that you guys have done for the community and for the school district. We have a lot of things in front of us to do, and I'm looking forward to helping out with those. And it was a lot of fun taking the pictures in the wind.
In the wind.
In the wind.
Our hair looks nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Burris. Okay, C, our Executive Director of Finance report, Mr. Kyle Archbeck.
Good evening, board president, board members, superintendent. In my report, it's really 5 items. Some of them we voted on. The first is the proposed budget for next school year 22-23. We went over this in depth at the work session. At this point in time, nothing's changed. However, I imagine there's going to be some changes in the next few months. So what will happen is whatever those changes ultimately be, in January, I'll provide another budget like I did with like the final for that year. So with that being said, you will also see the salary schedules to go with that going into next year. There were some suggestions and changes. We talked about it last time. I believe they've all been addressed. And if not, it's just we bring whatever schedule's incorrect back if we need to address it. But I think at this point, we're at a good spot. Going forward, there'll be some supplemental budget requests. As I explained in here, it's the reason we're doing these now in this month is because we want to make sure that our budget reflects what's actually happening. As far as the JOM, Mountain View Tribe funding, what happened was when I first got here, I was told it was JOM money, which is correct. But it's not, and when I say JOM is a federal grant that you can apply for and get money specifically for Native Americans. However, the Ute Mountain Tribe applies for those funds, and then they essentially donate it to the schools to pay for certain things. So when I first came, I was under the assumption it was a federal funding source that we were getting, so we coded it one way. After finding out how it's actually coming to the district as more of a donation than it is the federal grant, I need to code it differently to make our budget reflect that. So that's essentially what this supplemental budget is there. We received some additional at-risk dollars at the end of legislation. So in order to accept those and flow through to the charters, we need to make sure that's reflected. Next will be a capital reserve request. This was an RFP that we did in October. It was approved, and that's why the flooring is taking place now. What we're doing now is just making sure the books match the RFP that was approved. So just to have that money available there. Again, that's the 521,000 covers Mesa, the middle school, which is almost everything in the pods, the library, and also Manon. And there's an option there if something happens and we decide that we don't want to move forward with that, we still have to pay for it, but we have the option to put those carpets somewhere else in the district. So just keep in mind, we can't get out of it, but we cannot install it, maybe put it somewhere else if that's the direction we go. And then last, we put out an invitation to bid in February for the HVAC design for CMS and Beach. Initially, we didn't have anybody respond. We extended it another 30 days and we had one respondent from Durango that we worked with before, ME&E Engineering. And they provided their one quote at $193,750. Essentially, they'd be taking on the design and engineering build for the specs of the HVAC at CMS and the one at Beach. They'd also help with the procurement of the resources, the equipment, and things that we need to make sure we get it at the best price at government contract deals and whatnot. So that's I guess the gist of it. The only other update I'd give is we thought the track was going to be done today. It'll probably be tomorrow, the next day. We'll do the final walkthrough, and then hopefully that's all taken care of. I talked to Ray today about the field. There's some irrigation that needs, I guess, irrigation lines that need to be extended to the center, but it's already in the works. We're just waiting for the track to complete, and we'll get in and fix that. And hopefully that middle strip of the stadium field will start to come back. So, any questions? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kyle.
I have one more little informational thing. Nikki, I'm sorry I missed getting the grant on. The Lower Foundation has made a grant to transportation for radios. And I didn't get those on this agenda. They are on for the next agenda, but thank you very much. I can't recall what the total was.
A little bit less than 30,000. So it'll be 10 new radios that can actually connect to Denver. Like, doesn't matter where they are, they'll be able to connect back to the transportation hub and for kids.
Yeah.
61 buses.
They can
At least 10 buses. We're gonna try them out and see if they work.
Thank you. We'll come back to that Wednesday. Thanks.
Okay. Item D, Executive Director of Student Academic Services Report, Mr. Parr.
Evening, board. I'm gonna try this in the same way that you're trying this.
Good luck, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you. In my board report, I basically highlighted a few things. I wanted to revisit some of the academic components of our strategic plan, just to give you a reminder of where we're going to be focusing those goals. Again, we discussed primary level improvement in both math and reading, grade level improvement in math, reading, and the reduction in number of students on read plans. College and career readiness with the graduation rate, and something that we added in, we didn't, as a group, the group I was working with didn't quite get through all of these items, but something that I feel like we should add is tracking students in their progress towards graduation. I want to catch that early as opposed to late. There's no reason that we can't look at our freshmen and start planning that out so that they have that opportunity.
They don't need the surprise.
I think that's
Yeah.
kind of the gist of what we need to, that should be done.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have it.
We want to get to that senior year and we have the adequate number of credits to walk. So, and then professional development was a goal for all of us, providing timely, applicable, relevant, and meaningful professional development for our educators. So obviously the strategic plan is not finalized yet, and you guys will see it when it is, but those are just some of the components that I wanted to highlight for my report. The next item I have in here is our K-5 ELA adoption. Good news is materials are on the ground in the buildings. They were there before teachers left, so they had access to them. And they also have access to their online resources currently. As we get closer to August, professional development will be provided to them to get them up to speed. there's also online modules that they will be adding in prior to that. So I feel like we're in good shape as far as getting that going.
Yeah. When I went in this morning into the gym or whatever we want to call it, all-purpose room, there's a lot of books and stuff stacked. Is that still new material or?
So it's kind of interesting. So a lot of that stuff are still the demos that vendors gave us. When I reached out to them to say, I'm sorry, we chose a different product, where can I send your stuff? They're like, keep it, do whatever you want. So
Supplemental.
it could be, but unfortunately it's not enough to do anything with it. So I have to, I'm still working on what I'm gonna do with that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you hate to see things go to waste.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
and that's why it's still sitting there. 'Cause I
Okay.
just, I don't have the heart to just chuck it.
Have you advertised like the lockers?
Yeah.
Homeschool or some of the charter schools, maybe Battle Rock.
That's a good idea. So that's what that's.
Okay, thank you.
Assessment platform update. We have chosen these Renaissance Star 360 platform. I've highlighted some of the standout reasons why. We can assess students, obviously in math and reading. The district assessments will be given in the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year. We've done this in the past. Just kind of slipped right back into that particular format that we've used before. Helpful thing for this platform specifically is that teachers will be able to assess students as needed. So we get a new student that comes in the door, teachers can give them a STAR assessment and immediately have data on where that student is at in math and reading. So that's a valuable tool in that regard. These are nationally normed tests, so it's a comparison that we haven't had in the last few years when we've just been using the ones that we've created ourselves. And it will provide diagnostic information for our RTI plans, and our IEP plans, and ALP plans that need to be constantly monitored for student progress. So again, something that we haven't had beyond, consistently beyond like third grade for the last few years. So something that's vital. And it will also provide a snapshot of our students from kindergarten through 12th grade. How about that right?
We have the longevity then?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
In addition to STAR, they have another product that we're going to acquire as well. It's called Schoolzilla. And basically what that is it's a dashboard, a data dashboard. It's a warehouse and a dashboard. So in similar fashion to things we've had in the past, if Mr. Burris wants to pull up 5th grade across the district and see how they're performing on not just STAR assessments, but CMAS, DIBBLES, any other things that we might be using, all of that data will be in one place and he can access that and it'll give him a picture of what that looks like. So Schoolzilla or a data platform in general is something that we haven't had either. In fact, people have come into our district and say, hey, what does your dashboard look like? So, sorry.
I don't know, let me run out and look at my car.
Yeah. It's a little hot. I mean,
Engine light is on.
but it's really, the purpose of that is just to be efficient. I mean, we need to use our data smartly. And if people have to spend a lot of time mining around for that stuff and don't have easy access to it, it's not efficient and it's just a time suck that we can't afford to have at this point. So
Have you heard of the Colorado Growth Model?
Colorado growth model, yes.
That is also a dashboard for us that we can
Yes.
utilize.
Yes.
And are we utilizing it? free.
To a certain extent, yes.
It's free.
Yeah, there is information there that we have utilized, particularly in regards to like some of the individual school reports and things that we've used most recently. I mean, it's, to be honest, it's about as much of a dashboard as we've had.
Yeah, well, and I liked it when it first came out because when I was at CDE and they showed it to me. And it was great because you could plug in one student and see what their scores were, where they stood last year and where they are this year. And if they significantly dropped, then you can go back and say, was it the teacher? Was it something in their background?
Right.
What can we do to help that child? And so I thought it was a great idea.
CDE has some pretty decent resources that we don't always take great advantage of.
And that's something that I really am pushing for us to take care of. I've also, through the last year, 2 years, have been hounded, the board has been, on doing too much testing in the schools. Where are we standing with that now?
Well, so again, one of our goals that I listed next is to be efficient with our tests. And what we were finding with our interim assessments, particularly at elementary levels, is those tests were taking 2-3 days.
And doing it every other week.
Right, and they're not necessarily yielding the type of information that we need. Moving to a 4-day calendar, that's not time we can waste.
Thank you.
So the point of, you can give a STAR assessment in about 35 to 40 minutes.
Right.
And it doesn't, with our use of Chromebooks and how one-on-one we are now, teachers can just do that right in their classroom. They don't have to go to a computer lab. It's all right there. So the idea is to be, as efficient as we possibly can. Not wasting time.
Thank you.
Okay, a couple of the other goals of our assessments goals, the new platform, were again, maintain our data-driven instruction process, which is what our teachers will be engaged in on those Fridays, is digging into data. Now they'll have more up-to-date data at their fingertips. So they'll have recent data that they can use to adjust instruction and design appropriately. And again, the ability to look at our kids K-12.
And so I'm taking up a lot of your time, I'm sorry, but when I ask for some data on where the kids are standing this school year, you don't have to go to the teacher or the school. You can just go to your computer and pull it right up. So that frees up a lot. Thank you.
And the last thing I highlighted is our charter schools. In your packet is the contract for SWOs. I know it's been a minute, but back in January, or actually February, we approved their application going forward. And this is the next step. It's just the approval of the contract. And then, of course, the president will need to sign that contract, but it should be in there for you to review. Just so you know, SWOs is coming off of a 10-year charter, which is pretty unprecedented in the state these days. It's not something you see. I think there are rare places where you have charters that are longer than 3 or 4 years. The contract that we created for this go round is very similar to our Kiva and Battle Rock contracts in that it's a performance-based contract. And the first 2 years of the contract are basically, for lack of a better term, guaranteed. And if they meet their performance targets, then we'll add a third year on to it. So we wanted to get into that cycle where all of our charters are on similar contracts and they have performance criteria attached. So that's it. Any questions?
Now, do the charter schools take these STAR tests too?
Charters, they are responsible for their own curriculum and assessment platforms. Kiva and SWOs currently are using NWBA grants. And I believe, I'm not sure what Battle Rock is using, they may be using STAR. It's not through us. They do, each of those schools is independent in their decision making as far as those materials go.
So to show their as performance based, they can choose how they can show that performance.
Well, basically within the contract, we'll use this one as an example for SWOs. It was that they maintained a certain level on their state performance framework, which incorporates a number of things, graduation attendance, performance in general. So, and it's, to be perfectly honest, that's not something that's any different than we ask of our sellers. So that's pretty pretty much what the reasoning for using that.
Graduation rates, I know I wasn't in on that group, but the strategic planning, I know we set that at 85.
Right.
Personally, I'd like to see it a little bit higher than that. State's 86, and I think that'll be at least better than what the state averages. And also, I've always thought that we should probably have 2 different graduation rates, because that graduation rate that we're talking about there, that CD looks at. What they look
It would
at
be
is,
the 5-year average.
yeah, what they look at is when the student that enters as a freshman, they have to graduate 4 years later. That's what goes into that number.
Right.
And yet, if a student takes 5 years to graduate, that's a good thing too. So I think you ought to maybe even break it down into 2 different categories and have a higher rate for those that maybe we can get back into, to finish their school and graduate.
That's a good point. Something to look at in that particular setting.
Oh, good job on the strategic plan draft.
Well, I just copied and pasted. We've done over 3 days.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's important I would like to, and I'm assuming you probably disagree, but have regular reports on that data throughout the year. So
I'd like to
Yeah.
see, because we did a lot of work. I don't want to see it fall by the
Right,
wayside. So
exactly.
we need to keep us focused.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it should be on the agenda monthly where we're at with certain things, even if there's nothing to report,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
keep it on there so it's always,
Well, yeah, I think it should be a living document, something
Right.
that we're always referring to. So. Thank you.
all right.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. All right. Executive Director of Human Resources Report.
I
Good evening, board members, president, and our superintendent. How are you welcome this evening?
We're wonderful. How are you?
Thank you. I'd like to begin my report with the items outlined, beginning with our employee insurance and benefits. I have provided a copy of the 2022-2023 renewal proposal from SIDSIP, with the Colorado School District Self-Insurance Pool Risk Program Team, or Montezuma-Cortez School District. This is all of our liability insurance for property and automotive coverage. It also includes equipment, cyber coverage, and any other liability that we may face. As you can see from the attachments that I provided, there is a list of the 10-year experience of claims that we've provided, or that we, submitted to SIDSIP for coverage over the last 10 years of any claims that we've had. They've used this experience report to determine our premium costs. It does go back 10 years, and you can see 2011, 2012 claims will be falling off next year. And under our property coverage, those are the highest claims that we've seen, with the exception of this last year on the roof claim that we made. So as a breakdown, I did work with SIDSIP this last month to get quotes for increase or decrease coverage on certain aspects and increased deductibles. We did get, as you can see, a breakdown of what that difference would be and whether or not they would make sense into making those changes. At the end of the report, it does provide us with a quote that is approximately 5% more than it was last year, which is $219,000 for the year. On page, sorry, that was page 9. It is on page
17.
17, sorry.
page 17, it has the breakdown. Property is approximately 5% more, equipment is less. School entity liability is somewhat less, includes employee benefit liability, school auto, school crisis, chemical, biological, biochemical, and acts of terrorism are included, primary and excess crime, environmental protection premises, and cyber enterprise risk management. So it's approximately 5% more than last year. However, that does include a substantial claim that we made for roof repair, which was $2.7. So I recommend that we renew with SIDSIP for our liability insurance coverage with this renewal proposal. Do we have any questions in regards to any of this information? It does specifically outline what the differences would be if we increase our deductible or decrease our coverage. We could make up that 5% easily with making those changes. However, I would not recommend we do so based on the coverages that we may need to continue having, which is our property and auto. Also, under our benefits, following my presentation, we will have John Corbett, our broker for USI, and Ann Robles, our senior account manager, present the stop loss marketing results, our member experience reports, vendor updates, and renewal and marketing timeline via Zoom today. They have substantial information, increased information that they would like to present on the timeline that they presented last time. You know, they gave us a timeline of what they're going to meet, and they would be providing that information to us. Under HR updates, I did include a findings report for your review. This is also highly confidential information, so please review that at your discretion and contact me if you have any questions. I've also included a detailed list of all of our staff openings. This list was as of last Thursday. There have been some changes made through today. I appreciate those who attended a meeting this morning to review this list and the emergent needs that we're faced with these shortages. We are doing everything that we possibly can to fill these openings. We'll be diligent throughout the end of this summer to try to have all of them filled by the time the school starts. I'm really focusing on the middle school right now, as we've made some changes for Minot and also the high school. We have continued working with our partnership with Public Education Business Coalition, which is PEBC. They actually held an open house today and are working with potential teachers and alternative licensure programs. I will be meeting with Brittany Lane later this week to follow through with any teachers that have decided to sign up with their program to work in our district. Recruitment, retention, and employee well-being were identified as the district's highest areas of focus on the strategic plan. Goals have been set and will be included in the strategic plan, as well as HR priorities. A new level of recruiting efforts to include an advertising campaign will be utilized to promote Montezuma County and our school district. We've reached out to community members and businesses in an effort to provide additional opportunities and discounts for educators, and ask any and all citizens to aid in supporting our effort to recruit qualified teachers, and that would also include substitutes.
I think the board understands and recognizes our emergent need for qualified and licensed teachers and what we need to do to bring them on board in the district. And I also want to mention that this isn't just Montezuma-Cortez School District or the state of Colorado. This is a nationwide shortage that all districts and all schools are facing. But we do have a fantastic team of teachers here, and those who remain have stepped up and are doing all that they can to support and educate our students and work with us. There is an attachment of USI's presentation. Turn over the time to John and Ann, unless you have any questions related to the information that I provided.
I do not.
Okay, thank you.
For
Thank you.
work.
Thank you, Cindy.
And there's John and Ann.
Good evening, everyone. Members of the board, thank you for the accommodation and allowing us to present virtually at tonight's meeting. We're looking forward to attending the next one in person. And I'm joined here today with my colleague, Ann Robles, as Cindy mentioned, the district's assigned senior account manager, whom will be walking us through some of the exhibits to help further detail our vendor progress and strategy that we reviewed in last meeting. Currently, from our lens, on both a member engagement and feedback point of view, looks very encouraging. In fact, folks are starting to reach out to us, allowing us to assist them in their access and education for care. So that's very encouraging. We've been looking at the relationship and impact on the current wellness access point and vendor, First Stop Health. Indications are pointing that given the lower than anticipated program performance, that an alternative wellness option might make more sense to review this year. And USI will be providing a few solutions for the district to consider, including directed network and incentive programs like Proximal, who we have an exclusive relationship nationally with, or Mobi, a holistic lifestyle and advocacy wellness program. Both of these programs involve carrier subsidization or performance guarantees, which is a nice way to hold these folks accountable if this is a direction the district would like to go in. Our progress with current vendors are also improving. As you guys remember, this is an unbundled program, so you have several different vendors in your financing mechanism. This progress with these vendors are improving through further negotiations during the marketing process. We are getting some flexibility with vendors to negotiate opportunities to change your existing contracts without heightened legal liability. So that's very desirable as well, and we'll get through that as we go through here. As well as financially, we're running slightly below budget, indicating an opportunity, as we had chatted about last time, for a surplus recovery. If the district has been appropriately funding to budget, which were the illustrative rates, and experience claims remain low, then the district should be able to fund, knock on wood, towards the reserve, which is currently at zero. There is no reserve currently built up for run out claims. And given those current claim levels, as you know, as time is building and we're getting a further lens on experience, I'm conservatively thinking about 600 grand as a appropriate reserve level. But again, our manager of analytics is working on an IBNR report so that we could better lens the risk and where we need to be. So with that, I'd like to review our agenda, and bear with me as I attempt to share my screen. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So our agenda tonight is really to look at the renewal and marketing timeline, give an updated status, as well as talk a little bit about the vendors that we're working with as a part of your current contracting program, where we are with them, next steps, as well as we're going to look at our member experience report. So that's one of the reports we looked at last time when I was there, as well as talk to you about our efforts in the stop loss market in the renewal and marketing process there. And then what I'd like to ask is that if folks could hold their questions to the end of the presentation so we could just get through the material, I'd really appreciate it. Sound okay with everybody?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so really, this slide is illustrating our immediate team, the folks that have really been involved with negotiations, discussions, strategy, et cetera, with the district. Now, of course, we have a deeper team than this, but these are the folks that have really been playing key roles since inception to try to get a handle on the current contracts, negotiate with current vendors, as well as look at opportunities in the outside market. And certainly council has been involved with many conversations to ensure that we're getting the best support. So just wanted to give you a quick visual there. And then Anne, if you wouldn't mind, would you mind walking through the timeline?
Sure, no problem. Hello, everyone. Once again, I'm Ann Robles. Thank you so much for being able to accommodate us on Zoom, and I really look forward to meeting everybody in person soon. So I just wanted to make sure that I had a most up-to-date renewal and marketing timeline for you to be able to reference, and so you can see exactly where we are at in this process. There's a lot of different layers and components being unbundled that we need to be looking at, and so therefore there's a lot of different steps. And so I've kind of outlined here, what we are trying to accomplish. And so the first and foremost, we are looking at, currently we are marketing your TPA, which is currently EBMS, and also your stop loss vendor to renewal. So the stop loss is going to be what we present tonight. As you can see outlined here, we've also got dates set for when we have all of our TPA marketing results presented to Cindy. It's our goal to have that by the week of the 25th. We would like to then select some finalists from there that would then come and present to the board at the August meeting. We've gotten a lot of responses, and I think that us sitting down and kind of narrowing it down to the ones that would be the best fit. And then on the August 16th board meeting, we'll come in and we'll have them make their final presentations. And then you can also ask them direct questions from there. If you go to the next slide, it'll detail some additional marketing. So we're also marketing your pharmacy benefit manager, which is currently Magellan. There's definitely been a lot of noise coming from some of the employees about dissatisfaction with the pricing and the service with Magellan. So, being aware of that, we are definitely going to be taking them to market and, looking at what we are able to offer. And then also the ancillary marketing. So we are going to market your vision, life, and your voluntary lines. We will be sending that to the market. We're looking at probably doing that probably sooner than 8/8, but we would like to have it at least out the door by 8/8. And then we will then have final decisions presented to the board by 9/30. Ancillary marketing is pretty quick and easy one, and so we want to make sure that we get all of the more involved ones for your medical completed and decisions made first. So I'm also going to provide a vendor update for you as well, so you can see where we are at within negotiations and how things are going. So for EBMS, which is your medical TPA, they have agreed to renew on a 18-month rate guarantee. So one of the things that we uncovered when we started, pulling back all of the layers is that we noticed that your TPA was renewing on 7/1, but open enrollment was being held in December for a 1/1 effective date. And we really would like to get everything aligned to renew on 1/1 so that the district can be in complete compliance. So one of our goals is to get the renewal date, to get everything moved to a 1/1 effective date. Therefore, EBMS has agreed to that 18-month contract. So they are going to hold their admin rates through 12/31 of 2023, which is, we were really excited that they were willing to make that concession. Then the only thing that will be changing very slightly is your network access fee with Cofinity is going to increase from $635 per employee per month to $665. All the other administrative per employee per month rates will be remaining the same. So our recommendation is for now is to renew with EBMS on 7/1. However, we do have TPA marketing out to bid, and EBMS is aware of that. So what we can do is we'll be able to take our marketing results and give EBMS the ability to kind of sharpen their pencil, and then we can decide whether or not we want to proceed with them for 1/1/23, or if we'd like to take advantage on one of the quotes that their competitors provided. For the stop loss, your incumbent stop loss carrier, Greenwich, is no longer going to be writing stop loss policies. They're actually going to be moving over and focusing on ancillary coverages. So the renewal proposal that we received from AccuRisk is reflecting bids from a carrier called Everest Re. Everest Re is offering two different types of contracts, so that would align us to a 1/1 effective date. However, the stop loss marketing results, which we will be reviewing in a little bit, suggest that it would be financially wise to move away from AccuRisk and Everest Re, because we do have another carrier from our stop loss consortium who is providing substantial savings. So Magellan, so we confirmed that the 3-year contract that was given previous board consent is considered to be, a viable contract. So there is that 3-year contract that was established in September of last year. We have been in negotiation with them, and they are willing and agreeing to waive their breach of contract liability, provided that they are able to participate in the upcoming RFP exercise. So we do have your PBM currently out to market with our PBM partners. And so we are, going to make sure that, we are able to, use those marketing results to renegotiate your contract with Magellan so they can be more in line with the results that we get from the market. And if Magellan isn't able to, from a savings standpoint, if there's going to be greater savings and better benefits out in the market, then we'll have that ability to have that minimal exposure. They will not pursue litigation if we decide to move away from Magellan. So we were able to negotiate those concessions from them. This was done with our, we had our counsel review and several calls with our, pharmacy benefit consultants to make sure that we can get everything in line with, we've got all of our I's dotted and T's crossed with the pharmacy benefit contract.
And if you don't mind, I'll jump in here just quickly.
Sure.
Yeah, just to further deepen the insight is really Magellan, given the fact that there wasn't an actually signed contract on file, which we do have a copy of one if we needed to file it. But even though with the guidance of our ERISA attorney have been advised that the implied consent and the fact that they have been supporting the district since 9/1 does preclude the district to participate in a 3-year deal. So one of the things that our pharmacy benefit director and our ERISA attorney was very supportive in negotiating with Magellan was, as Ann mentioned, the waiver of breach of contract should they not be competitive in this upcoming exercise, but that there would still be a termination fee based on claims. And so that number is about 28 grand. So that would be a fee that the district would have to pay to get out of the Magellan contract. They would waive the right for that other additional liability. But then what we're seeing initially right now through our homework is that we fully intend to more than cover that fee and the savings that we're working on through contracts to really drive those savings that we were talking about in the last couple meetings. So although there would be a termination fee, I think this is a really great win through the conferences that we've had and the additional effort there. Thanks, Ann, so much.
Thank you, John. I appreciate providing the additional information on that. Finally, our last update is through your dental contract with Delta Dental of Colorado. So we were able to amend that contract to enhance the preventive benefit from 80% to 100% for Delta Dental PPO providers. So this means that if you go to see a Delta Dental PPO provider, all of your preventive services will be covered at 100%. The premier and out-of-network providers will remain at 80%, but this really does give the employees that incentive to be able to go in and get their cleanings twice a year, and there's not going to be a cost associated with that. There was no rate impact to the employees, so we were able to get this amended. There's no change in cost. We achieved this by removing our commissions. So I did negotiate with them and saying that if we remove our commissions, can you enhance this benefit for them with no change in cost? And they were able to do that. So that contract has been updated, signed. It's already in place for 5/1. Recommendation is to continue offering your dental coverage through Delta Dental. In your location, there's really not a very strong network with any of the other carriers. Delta Dental is really where you're going to find the most in-network coverages. So I've had clients in the Four Corners area that I've had that previously looked at leaving Delta Dental, and Delta is really your best bet. So my only recommendation is that down the road, maybe you consider doing a dual option plan where employees can buy up to a slightly richer plan if they'd like. But overall, I think that right now with Delta Dental, you guys are in a really good spot. You're on mute, John.
There I am. You okay?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and review the monthly experience report. This is the illustration with all the numbers, and I apologize if it might look a little bit like an eye chart in advance, but I will walk you through the data and help support the initial information presented in the introduction. So really, again, looking at the analysis, we're looking at a current 11 months worth of claim data. And right now we're running at a decent position. I mean, I'd really like to see this 94.5% more like 70% or even 60. That's really when we've had a great performance. But nonetheless, if the district has budgeted and set aside those dollars appropriately as the illustrative rates we're looking at a possible surplus, knock on wood, if there's no more large claims, et cetera, of about 184,000. So this is a great number to use as a opportunity to start funding the reserve, as we mentioned earlier. And just to kind of recap, there's about 8 claimants over 65,000 now, which is about half of the stop loss deductible at 130. And then our overall total reimbursement following your deductible and the stop loss pooling point is about $145,000 that Greenwich has reimbursed the district for. And there were really two run out stop loss claims for terminated members. After that, $100,000 spec deductible was taken into account, and those claims were about $153,000. Our prescription drug claims look actually pretty good compared to the average of what we typically see. So that could be 2 reasons. One, folks are getting the right care at the right time, requiring less pharmaceuticals, or they're not. So, and that's not, so it could be one or the other. So we want to really kind of monitor this. We want to make sure folks are staying therapeutic, because that's what prevents chronic or catastrophic claims. And so this is going to be, can you see this okay, Ann? Or I'm sorry, yep. Everybody. So this is really it's a nice illustration on how things are running. I always look to the upper right-hand side at, see if I'm speeding, right? See if I'm in the red zone. Luckily, where claims levels are, we're at 97.5. The end of the red zone here to the farthest right is our maximum claims, which is the most we would pay based on our exposure, but we're at 97.5, which is still showing a possible $187,000 surplus following the last month in our plan year. So we were just, again, very similar to last time. We want to, knock on wood and hope that, things continue to run this way. But our overall per employee per month claims cost looks really good. We looked at our net paid claims. Our maximum exposure is 3.3 million. We're only at 2.4, which is giving us that surplus opportunity. Looking at the overall annual per employee per claims looks actually pretty darn good for your area, because since you're in a rural setting, the opportunity to garner stronger discounts is less. And then, in the middle here with the large claimants, we talked a little bit about the amount of total large claims. At this point, we're 8, and totaling about a little over $1 million, with 245,000 over the stop loss level. However, if you remember, the district had a $100,000 deductible to pay up front, which Ann will be talking about how we were able to get a proposal with the reduction, just because this strategy really, at this point, isn't really appropriate for your risk. But again, we're seeing here, at the lower right-hand side, current large claimants as a percentage of total claims. This is a little bit higher than average. Normally, we'd like to see this 37% back down, and a larger portion reflecting the other claims. Everybody still with me? Okay. I know, insurance, right? And numbers. Most exciting. So this is really just an example of our overall performance, illustratively, through dollars and cents. And these are what's driving our positions. So I'm really not going to go through this in larger detail, other than in January of 2022, up here in the middle top portion of the illustration, you'll see this gray bar, net total claims above our maximum. So we're feeling that this might be pandemic related or driven. Certainly there was some large claims that also occurred that could have really kind of ticked this up. But again, overall performance is better than maximum. So we're just going to go ahead and move forward here. Excuse me. And this is just a breakdown of the 3 different plan designs that you have. Plan C being the richest, B in the middle, and Plan A, the leanest, the HSA plan. Really what this is showing me illustratively at the top is, the Plan C has, the least amount of employees in it, and they have the highest claims, which is represented by this gray bar, over what we expected, which is the blue bar. So what that tells me is that the sickest people are on this plan, basically, and it's the richest plan. However, I think there's a bit of a philosophy and education issue here, because typically, even though the HSA plan is first dollar out of pocket, once you hit that calendar year maximum, everything's covered at 100%, where folks that are in Plan C are feeling that they're able to take advantage of routine copays prior to, for just routine care, prior to deductible or co-insurance exposure, but it really is not saving them. They're actually paying more in this Plan C than what they could actually have to pay than Plan A. So this tells us a little bit about education opportunities, and also brings my that everybody's favorite word, death spiral, into Plan C, because you're actually charging more than you're paying. So nonetheless, though, overall, just some information to kind of chew on. Again, I maybe a little bit in the weeds here, but want to just make sure you all are seeing the detailed level that we're providing. Also, here's an illustration of your overall large claimants, and we see there's 2 termed large claimants, which was the diverticulosis.
Diverticulitis.
Thank you. Good Lord. It's late again, and I'm tongue twisted. And the alcohol dependence, both good risks to have off the plan. And then several of these lower plans are, sort of these lower issues are, we don't expect to be ongoing. So that would improve the overall exposure of the plan. So with that, Anne, would you mind going through your stop loss marketing results?
Absolutely. So we are going to go through your stop loss marketing results. Basically, what we did is, since you're unbundled, we're able to the first step in trying to provide the district and savings and having a real cost-effective benefits plan was to look at the stop loss, because this can easily be changed without having any effect to the current plan design, and the employees will not notice anything. And this is really the premium you're paying for stop loss is hard first dollar amounts. So this was kind of our step one, was to look at getting you into a more competitive stop loss plan and with more competitive pricing, preferably from our stop loss consortium. USI has a lot of buying power in the market based on our size. So we have a stop loss consortium where we basically have a lot of different carriers that are basically competing against each other constantly and for our business. And by being a part of our stop loss consortium, there's certain guarantees that we have negotiated with them, such as, their stop loss reimbursements must match the plan contract that you have with EBMS, so that there's not going to be any gaps in coverage there. Also discounted pricing and all of that wonderful stuff. So if this is the first page that we're showing you, basically this is just showing you your plan design, and it's basically showing that with your current renewal and then 3 alternate stop loss carriers that we are going to present, the plan design is not going to change at all. You're still going to have EBMS, Cofinity is still going to be your network. You're still going to have the same deductibles. So everything is going to be the same as of 7/1 once we make this stop loss decision. It's just really going to be the carrier that we work with. So if you want to go to the next slide. Okay, so you're current in renewal. So you're currently with Greenwich. And then, as I said before, that Greenwich is no longer going to be writing stop loss. So AccuRisk, who is an MGU, a managing general underwriter, basically is kind of like a third party for stop loss. So they are showing pricing with Everest Re as your new stop loss carrier. However, we went to the market and we had 3 different stop loss carriers come back to be relatively competitive, with one of them kind of standing out above and beyond the others. And so the first one is with Symetra. This is going to be the one that I'll say up front is what we're going to recommend. The alternates are with Berkshire Hathaway and then also Swiss Re. As you can see right here, as we start to kind of compare these stop loss numbers, one of the things that I've specifically highlighted that I want to address is that aggregating specific deductible, which is currently set at $100,000. And it is my understanding that it is the goal to kind of move away from this aggregating specific deductible, although it does lessen your premium to some extent by including this. And so my thoughts are that your previous broker might have had, AccuRisk add this aggregating specific to help bring you those premium dollar savings. However, if it's really not appropriate, I think, for a group your size, and it can add additional exposure that's not really, warranted. So you currently have $100,000 aggregating specific. And so I'll just take a couple, minutes to kind of, explain what an aggregating specific deductible is in case there's anyone that's attending that is unaware. So basically, when you have a stop loss amount, so you have a specific stop loss amount, as you can see, we have it outlined as 130. And that basically means that every single person under the plan has that $130,000 amount that you guys would be responsible for paying from your claims funding. Once they've met that 130,000, then stop loss is going to start paying, and that's per person. So that's why if you have a couple catastrophic claims, it's usually not going to be too impactful to your plan, because your stop loss is going to kick in and reimburse you for any of those amounts under 130. And that is per person. When you throw in an aggregating specific, this is an additional 100,000 on top of that 130, and it applies to everybody. So everybody's kind of, every time you get a stop loss claim, if you're getting it from 2 or 3 people, it's going to then, instead of getting paid out directly from the stop loss carrier, it's going to start now counting against the aggregating specific. So it's got to chip away at that extra 100,000. And then once that's met, you'll get reimbursed from your stop loss carrier. So with Symetra, we had them reduce that to 50,000. Our goal is with the 50,000 reduction for this 6-month contract to get us to the end of the year. And then starting on 1/1, we're going to have that quoted and have it completely removed. So you won't have an aggregating specific because we just don't feel like it's appropriate. The other thing that I want to point out, is that these are 6-9 contract types. So currently you have a 12-15. That means that your contract runs for 12 months, but the claims will pay out for 15. So you'll have 3 months post, the end of your plan year for any type of run out claims will be covered under that. We want to do a 6-9 because we basically want to get to the end of the plan year or the end of the calendar year, which is 12/31. So we're going to do a 6-month contract from 7/1 to 12/31. And then the 9 months will be that they'll pay claims. So we'll have the 3 months, just like you currently have, that will pay those claims. And then from there, once we start on 1/1, we'll go back to that 12/15 contract because that's what you've had for quite some time. You could go to the next one. So as you can see right here, so these are going to be the fixed cost, the premium. So there's 2 different premium types that you're going to see right here. There's going to be specific stop loss premium, and that's going to be the premium that applies for the specific stop loss. It's broken out for Symetra, as you can see, is there's employee only, and then anybody who's covering independent will have the same cost for their specific stop loss. The aggregate stop loss premium is going to be, it's considerably less because the chances that you actually hit your aggregate stop loss, and that would be if your plan runs so poorly that you've hit that maximum liability that we've calculated, which is 125%, then aggregate stop loss is going to come in and they're going to start paying everything. It's so rare that that's hit, but we do have that protection in place. So that was why the premium amount for that is considerably lower. But if you see right here, if your current plan, if we're just going to compare numbers at employee only, you're currently paying $94.34 for the employee premium for your stop loss. Your renewal is going down a little bit. So Everest Re is offering a little bit of savings. So that would be employee only at $83.22 per employee per month. But Symetra, if you look here, is sitting at $69.09 per employee per month. So that's coming in quite a bit of savings. So without going too much into the weeds, I know that the big thing is like, what's the total? So if you look at the bottom, the Symetra is offering a 26% savings under your current. So it's, if you take that from a hard dollar amount over the next 6 months, I believe that we calculated it was like $69,000 in savings. So that's how much you would save by going to Symetra for the next 6 months. If you want to go to the next slide. And then this last one, this is definitely a little bit more of an eye chart, but basically what this is going to show is once Symetra has figured in your estimated claims costs, it'll show you what the total plan cost is. Now, estimated claims costs these are just what Symetra has calculated as opposed to what we would do. We would do that calculation to kind of get that estimated claims cost based on our underwriting models. So if you look closely, it does show coming in, if you're looking at the anticipated claims cost at becoming 1% under current. However, like I said, the claims costs are estimate. The only thing that we really want to focus on are the premium amounts for the specific and the aggregate stop loss, because that is what you will be paying every month. That is the premium for that stop loss coverage. There's a lot of fluctuation in the expected and maximum claims, and that's something that we'll be able to give a little bit more detail on once you've made that decision. Then our underwriter will go in and kind of be able to provide some better estimates based on the information that we have. But overall, I think that Symetra, that hard dollar savings for the first 6 months, I've worked a lot with Symetra. They do a good job. This is from our stop loss consortium. So you're getting that discounted pricing that you're taking advantage of. And you will have that guaranteed that any type of coverage that's under your stop loss plan, it'll cover everything under your medical. So basically, if you have there's in some circumstances, your stop loss contract in your medical plan document will not align. So that if you have a claim come through that is really high and your stop loss plan is like, well, we don't cover that, then that claim is going to keep you're going to have to keep paying for that claim no matter the cost, because stop loss is going to say that they don't cover it. But our stop loss consortium carriers have agreed to cover everything under your plan document. So you don't have to worry about that risk that there may be some sort of a claim that comes through that, stop loss won't reimburse for. So we've got that guarantee in place.
Thanks, Ann. So everybody, I know that was quite a bit to digest, and we moved through it fairly quickly, but just wanted to find out if you all had any questions, share with you any other insight that we can. Are there any questions currently that you all have?
The TPA, from 635 to 665, is that what we were paying with 635?
So that is for your network access fee. So that is basically Cofinity's fee for letting you use their network. So
right.
the TPA is, they're holding their current rate, so nothing is going to change with that. But we went back several times to try to get Cofinity to hold their rate. However, they are giving that increase to $635 per employee per month to $665. So that's the only increase that you'll see from the TPA side.
Yeah, and just to enrich that. So really, we were able to hold EBMS to their current contract pricing. So this network access fee was the only slight increase. We saved a few thousand on this from what we should have probably seen from EBMS. So I do remember the question last year when I was there at the last meeting was, what have you guys saved for us so far, right? So as Ann mentioned, we're looking at about $9,000 worth of total savings so far. And that's just on, this contract with the TPA and the stop loss. So, and this is actually, I feel, a little bit understated in terms of overall savings, because we're actually going negative comparatively to current pricing. We really should see trend increases. So, I would say the savings is a lot more. I didn't do the math already. We just looked at the hard dollars that we already knew we were saving. But again, we're starting to see some really great movement and development here. As Ann mentioned, there's a few other RFPs that are still out, which includes the TPA. So we're also looking at other carriers, networks, TPA services, which could improve from the EBMS contract that we're having held at today's pricing with no increase. And then we're also looking at the pharmacy piece, which we expect to see considerable savings there as well. So, kind of a walk down the path, but nonetheless, as we initiate sequencing up to or synchronization up to a 1/1 effective date, we're seeing some marvelous progress here.
Thank you.
The Symetra that you're talking on slide 18 there, 50,000 versus 100,000. Would you explain that a little bit more again?
Sure. So as
the opposite to me of being
right. So as Ann mentioned, really this is a contract mechanism to just try to save some overall claims dollars, and it's just really you're enriching your pooling point at this point as a matter of performance. So typically, what we would see when we see this type of maneuver is one that plans are running so well, or their risk category is so favored. I think of 18-year-old men who don't go see the doctor because they're almost bulletproof at that age and don't seem to have a lot of problems. Conversely, men in their 50s who tend to experience cancer. So there's a big difference in swing of risk. However, with this product, it's really unnecessary because we're not really at that type of preferred performance. And this is more of an opportunity, as Ann mentioned, to save premium dollars. So keep that stop loss component relatively low, but your exposure is you're basically funding up to that level anyway. So there's really no magic that occurs with this program because you're paying for that anyway. So what we've been doing is looking at the market solutions available, trying to find a great product and partner to sync up to the calendar year, which this actually removed $50,000 of that additional exposure. So how that works is essentially your first claimant that goes over the $100,000 pooling point, you're responsible for the next $100,000 in claims. Once that $100,000 aggregate deductible, either over one person or several people, is paid, then any other claims over 130,000 is covered by the insurance company. So it's just an added layer of risk, and again is kind of more of a maneuver to try to reduce your spec premium. But again, not really necessary for a group of your size. And if you're going to be funding to that level, which, if you bear with me just a moment here, I'm going to pull up another chart. And let's see if I can get this to click in. This is really demonstrating where our stop loss model predicts your best outcome of win percentage. But really, as you see, you're already self-funding to $230,000 in a sense with the deductible. The higher you go up, it's no real, again, it's not really rocket science here. It's, if I am self-funding to a higher threshold, my stop loss premium is going to be lower, right? Because the carrier's risk is lower, because you're covering most claims up to three, like in this example, our top pick is $325,000, right? Well, at that point, what do I need stop loss for anymore? I'm pretty much, shouldering all the risk. So that's really kind of just the mechanisms or how these principles work in risk management. But really, as Ann mentioned, it's really not the most appropriate product for you. And what I would suggest, if we're starting to look at arrangements in that high or stay in the 230 level, that we start to have a conversation on captives. And that's a better way to leverage risk onto a captive and reduce your premium, something that you'd see possibly in your property and casualty, as well as how to finance that risk. But we can get into that rabbit hole later. But again, hopefully that answered your question.
And one thing that I do want to point out, John, that I had forgotten to previously, is that there is a laser on your renewal. What a laser is that when your stop loss marketing does underwriting for the renewal, they look at a potential high cost claimant. And there is one specific claimant on your plan that they have included a $200,000 laser on, meaning that any of those claims, they're going to have to hit an additional 200,000 in claims before the stop loss is going to reimburse. So essentially, they have a $330,000 specific stop loss on that individual, which can be very draining to your claims funding. However, Symetra did not laser any of your current claimants on the plan, so that is not going to apply. They also have a no new laser option. So basically, it says when if you move to Symetra, not only are they not going to laser this current individual that Everest Re is, but they also are going to guarantee that there's not going to be any new lasers that would be applied.
How we doing, guys?
John, last December, I think it was, when you were down too, you talked about doing some training stuff for all the staff and everything. Is that on for this fall, or?
Yeah, we are trying to find the best time to do presentations based on the district schedules. So Ann has been working on a lot of different communication pieces, programs. We wanted to roll most of that out at the beginning of the open enrollment period. We have, Andy, you want to talk a little bit about the BRC and the mobile app and kind of where we are with stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have two different communication campaigns that we provided to human resources. It basically is kind of like, a campaign bottle, in a box, so that they can kind of send this stuff out as needed. And it's really the two of those things that are focusing on our mobile app and our benefit resource center. Our benefit resource center, I think, is a really, really key tool to a lot of the employees because they're able to contact this the Benefit Resource Center and speak to a benefit specialist, and that benefit specialist that they make contact with will walk them through whatever concern they have from beginning to the end of their problem. So it could be a billing question, a claim problem. They can help write appeal letters if need be. They can even just as simple as, I don't understand my plan. Can you walk me through it? And it's confidential. So it really does take the burden of human resources from not only shouldering these questions, but then also, handling HIPAA protected information, and puts it on our Benefit Resource Center where these employees can have the ability to, contact our, benefit specialists and get the help that they need without having to share any personal health information with anybody that they work with. And it also keeps that information off of, the desk, because we really have to be careful with HIPAA protected information. So we really want to, working on trying to communicate that, because that is a really invaluable resource. And then also our USI mobile app. So our USI mobile app is available for everyone to download onto their phone. There's a specific code that is tied to Montezuma-Cortez, and through that mobile app, they can access their benefit guides, all of their benefit summaries, all of the carrier contact information is in there. They can take pictures of their ID cards and store all of their ID cards in their the e-wallet that we have, and that also has one-touch transfer to the BRC. So if they need to reach the BRC, they can open up their mobile app and just hit contact BRC, and it'll either direct them via phone or email to get in touch with them if they have a question. So those are like the two, I think, initial education and training and marketing campaigns that we really wanted to get out the door to start with, because those are kind of like our resources that we really, can get implemented really quickly and, hit the ground running with those. As far as other trainings, I'm in correspondence with Cindy right now to get a compliance review done so that we can come in with our ERISA attorney and spend a couple of hours just going through a checklist to identify, what areas is the district compliant in, and where are there opportunities for USI to come in and provide resources so that your plan is being administered compliant. There's not going to be any issues, because we do have a lot of resources that we can provide, and almost every employer that I do a compliance review with, we find a couple of things that we can beef up and get them up to par on. So that's another, education opportunity that's on the table. And then, we are, fully prepared to train and educate at any point during the year. So if there's, a training session that you feel like human resources could benefit from, or, anybody else, we can kind of outline specific topics and do trainings there. And then also open enrollment. With that coming up, I definitely plan on coming down and being on site for open enrollment meetings, because I really want to make sure, especially if there's any changes, that, we can really educate the employees on the benefits that they have available and answer questions, so that when open enrollment comes up, they are confidently making elections. They fully understand what's being offered to them. This is, a very, pricey benefit that is offered to employees. So we want to make sure that they fully understand that, what they have available to them as part of their compensation package, and that they're utilizing the benefits appropriately. So that's kind of where we're at with the education and communication and training.
And then I'll just slightly supplement as well. Currently there isn't really a bona fide wellness program associated with the overall offerings. And so, even though First Stop Health is in there, I think this offers us a lot of opportunity during this marketing and 6-month process to look at a few of the relationships that we have, so that, as Ann mentioned, as we're deploying tools to really modify and engage employees' behavior, the whole purpose of that obviously is to improve their experience and outcome, while also improving the financial performance of the plan. So there will be some really great opportunities coming up that we'll be sitting down with human resources to really further identify some of these areas and opportunities, so that if and when the district makes a decision on adding further resources, we can use those as additional campaigns in connection with what Ann had mentioned, to really drive that engagement and overall performance. What else can we discuss?
I think that's all we have at this time. John, thank you so much, and you as well, Anne, for the time you spent in providing this valuable information to the board.
Absolutely. And obviously, Cindy, as you know, we're always available. So we're really excited to come see you again next meetings. Apologies on this one. But certainly want to just let you know, we've got a ton of stuff going on in the background. So hopefully this was somewhat digestible. And again, we're certainly available for comment if it's okay. If you need us to remain on the call, we will. Or if you guys are okay where we're at now, we will go ahead and sign out.
I think we're good.
We're good. Thank you so much.
Okay, everyone,
Thank
have a
you.
great week. Really appreciate it.
Have a
Thank
good
you
one.
very much.
Bye-bye.
All right.
That's a lot of information.
Well, it looks like we're right on track though with our timeline, so that's good. All righty, board reports.
I have one. I don't know how many of you know this, but CASB's executive director has resigned. I will be at a CASB meeting this weekend. The only thing I can say is this is what happens when boards don't follow policy. So it's going to be an interesting thing for me. What happens and what when board does not follow policy. That's all I had.
I would just like to reiterate, thank you, the community, the administrators, everybody, the staff that showed up at the strategic planning and took their time for 3 days to, I really enjoyed it. I think it was time well spent, so.
Yes, absolutely. And I learned so much.
Okay. All righty. We will move along to citizens address the board. Jeff, do we have any?
It works too fast.
Indy, it looks like it's just you.
It's just you, but we're playing with the timer.
You want me to
play with the timer anyway.
You want me to set it or are you?
Playing with the timer, that's fine, I don't take long at all. I just wanted to thank the board, Mr. Burris, for having the strategic plan that included citizens. I think that was probably a real important part of it. I didn't get to visit with all of you board members, but I did with several of you, so it was really good to know you. It was good for me to get to know some of the teachers as well. And the other thing I wanted to say, I'm glad to see there's a resolution for initiative 63 on your agenda tonight. Oh, in light of everything that our school district is facing, we definitely need more money, even though it brings us up to just sort of subpar. At best, it's better than not having it. So I hope you sign it. I hope I don't have my petition with me, but please sign it if you haven't, and urge your family and friends to do likewise. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all righty, so looks like we'll be moving on to discussion items. Discussion item A, the Lower School to Community Connections Public Art Project.
I will.
You're not being.
1 minute, 45 seconds.
Here, talk fast.
So you have the paperwork for it with your board report. So I'm here just to answer any questions that might have come along. A little history, little background to it. I had met with Mrs. Hopt, oh gosh, probably back in April, we kind of started talking about opportunities to get the work that the kids are doing out into community, because it creates some accountability for the kids' work and some openness for what's going on in the classrooms, things like that. And the additional thought behind it was when these items, there's a roving board that will go to different businesses. This will also maybe help increase some business access, that families will go to show off what their children have done. I personally think about in Mr. Wood's history class this year, all the kids created their own personalized quarters. Like, because they were studying pre-Revolutionary War things. So, you know, just like we have statehood quarters and things like that, the kids designed their own quarters based on whatever topic they were talking about. Well, those would have been great to show, you know, here's stuff that our 8th graders are doing, and you're seeing what's going on in the classroom and what's being taught, and it's actually taking the work they're doing and taking it out into community, which is a really, really neat concept. You'll see also on the budget, not only is there the roving board, there is also a stable board that will go out at the airport. So as people are traveling through in and out of Cortez, they'll see the work that our kids are doing. So it's not just art, it is kind of everything. It covers all the work the kids are doing. So Ms. Hopton made a plan on kind of how that's going to rotate and how teachers are going to do that. So I feel like there's a good procedure in place for how to move forward. And it's just a small little grant, a little bit over $4,000 to cover all the costs for it. So if you have any questions, I'm available to answer.
Thank you.
It was, yeah, pretty-
So awesome.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
all righty. Okay, moving to section 8, action items. Action item A, the personnel consent calendar. Do I hear a motion to?
I make a motion to accept.
Is that how that's gonna work?
The calendar.
Either
Okay, here, first,
I recommend that the board approve the consent calendars attached in your board packet.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it. Talk about our shortage, and yet quite a long list of hires.
Board, are you on that agenda item? I'm just wondering if you can see the vote now.
oh, see the vote?
I can't.
I cannot.
I can't.
I'm not sure why that is.
No, I can't see it.
Oh, I see it now.
Where's it at?
Where's it at? Where do you see it at?
No.
I do, I have it on mine. Where's that?
Let's see.
That is so good.
I'm sorry.
Down at the bottom?
I went back and pushed on the consent calendar again. And then that underneath that message, yeah.
So we're gonna vote?
So he you can consent calendar twice,
He said he could
yeah.
double tap it? Well, I just went into the calendar, but
Not let me vote yet.
I mean, I can open.
I can't.
Calendar, but
Let me show you.
Click on this.
Well, no, I'm sorry.
Calendar.
Oh.
It's down here somewhere.
oh, here we go. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Does it allow you to, it's just showing up on my.
Looking on the tab, but
Oh, okay, I
Won't you do
opened it up.
anything?
It won't let you do it.
Well, that's because she hasn't opened it yet, right? Okay.
That's okay, we should say it out loud.
Yeah.
Were you done with discussion on?
I think so. Does anybody have any other discussion on the consent calendar? No. I think.
What did she say?
Frazier?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Hart?
I,
Noise?
Aye.
Rice?
Aye.
Wells?
I.
Right.
Aye.
Make the motion.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Action item B, the Lower School to Community Connection Public Arts Project approval.
Madam President, I recommend that we approve the Lower Foundation grant for the public art project in the amount of $4,015.
I make a motion to accept the lower grant.
Second.
We pretty much had our presentation. Does anybody else have any other discussion on it? Since then, okay.
Frazier?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Hart?
I,
Noise?
Aye.
Rice?
Aye.
Wells,
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Action item C, Montezuma-Cortez School District RE1 resolution in support of Initiative 63.
Madam President, I recommend that we support Initiative 63 resolution as in your packet. Sign that and send it. MB, are you taking those or are we sending it? The resolution for 63?
Am I doing what?
Well, if you, no. I didn't know whether you were taking those or whether I was sending it. The resolution on 63?
Am I taking?
Do you?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
We'll
This goes to Cal.
get it there.
We mail it there.
Yeah, we'll get it.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Bugging you.
Okay.
In your head.
Oh, yeah,
It's
go
okay,
ahead.
MB, sorry.
I'm trying to be helpful.
Do we have a motion?
She's gonna read it. Do we not read it?
Do we need the motion first?
No, we're supposed to read it first.
Whereas the Montezuma-Cortez RE1 Board of Education believes every student should have the opportunity to reach his or her full potential and to participate meaningfully in the civic and economic life of the community. And whereas every student deserves access to inspiring teachers, rigorous and inclusive curriculum, individual attention, quality career and technical opportunities, and appropriate mental and physical health resources, especially after the challenges of COVID. And whereas the Board of Education believes the public schools are a cornerstone for democracy, the pillar of thriving communities, the source of a prepared workforce, and an engine for economic success. And whereas great teachers are the foundation of great education, and Colorado is experiencing a persistent teacher shortage crisis. And whereas Colorado investment in education is lacking behind other states, Colorado has fallen more than $3,000 in per pupil spending behind the national average, resulting in teachers receiving the least compensated wage in the nation. And whereas education funding has not recovered from the Great Recession with the loss of the Montezuma-Cortez School District, in the state funding has been over $29,329,126 since 2009. And whereas reduced funding is directly impacting the district's ability to attract, retain, and competitive teachers and student support professionals while maintaining rigorous, inclusive curriculum, quality career and tech opportunities, and the appropriate mental and physical health resources. And whereas Initiative 63, which may appear on the 2022 ballot as a proportion, will provide significant additional funding for PK public schools without raising taxes or tax rates by removing these fundings from the Tabor limited calculation and directing a portion of this already collected in income tax revenue to the constitutional protected Colorado State Education Fund. And whereas Initiative 63 will require that these funds are used to attract, retain, and compensate teachers and student support professionals. Whereas Initiative 63 will require that funds are to supplement and not supplant state funding to schools, and the Legislative Council of the General Assembly shall report on an annual basis the revenue deposited in the state education fund pursuant to the requirements of this initiative. And whereas the board declares that Initiative 63 is a matter of official concern. Now therefore be it resolved that the Montezuma-Cortez RE1 Board of Education officially declares its support for Initiative 63 for the purpose of increasing funding of public education in the state of Colorado. And the board authorizes the expenditure of district funds to distribute a facility summary regarding Initiative 63, which may appear on the 2022 ballot as a proposition in accordance with the Fair Campaign Practice Act, CRS 145-117.
I make a motion, we accept this initiative.
Second.
Okay.
Frazier.
Aye.
Hall.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Noise.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Wells.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Okay, action item D, the memorandum of understanding, BOCES and Montezuma-Cortez School District.
Madam President, I recommend that we approve the MOU between the BOCES and the school district.
Motion,
I make a motion to accept this.
Frazier.
Aye.
Hall.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Noise.
aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Wells.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Okay. Action item E, the memorandum of understanding between, for Montezuma Interagency Oversight Group.
How would you like to say a little bit about this one?
Board president, board members, essentially what this is, and forgive me, I can't remember what House bill it was. But there was a House bill passed that created interagency groups among counties to ensure that different agencies in the area are working together, not duplicating services in regards to social services or education, whatnot. So there's 10 mandated agencies that have to be a part of this, and then there's some non-mandated agencies that wanted to be a part of it. What we're signing to is that essentially we're part of this group. They're going to want to meet on a regular occasion, whether that's monthly or quarterly or bi-monthly, I'm not sure yet. But it requires the executive officer of each of those to either attend the meeting or assign a designee to show up. And those agencies are going to discuss some different areas of concern for our county specifically. Some of those areas include the school district and some don't, but we still show up to the meeting to make sure that we know what our resources are, and then again, we're not duplicating or trying to fix something intentionally with one entity versus using our resources. So that's
Madam President, I recommend that we approve the memorandum of understanding with Montezuma Interagency Oversight Group.
I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding Montezuma Interagency Oversight Group.
Second.
Frazier.
Aye.
Hall.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Noise.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Wells.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Action item F, Southwest Open School Charter Contract.
Madam President, I recommend we approve the Southwest Open contract, June 2022.
For how many years?
This is another 10-year contract, isn't it? 2 years.
With the possibility of a third.
Wow, okay.
I make a motion to accept the Southwest Open Homes contract.
A second.
Frazier,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Hart,
Aye.
Noyes,
Aye.
Rice,
Aye.
Wells.
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Action item G, Montezuma-Cortez School District RE1 handbooks for,
Madam President, you've all received a three-ring binder with the handbooks in it. And you also received one extra one in those handbooks. There was one from Cortez Middle School from years ago, just as a compare and contrast. I know that this was a lot of reading to get through. And if there are any of these that you would like to look at a little bit further, please let me know. But if there are some that you're ready to approve of, that's good. I wanted to bring these, as I always have handbooks. If the board approves it, we can say the board approved it. It doesn't become policy. It says the board approved it. And that way, what rules the school has in place that they've developed is something that we can also stand behind as the rules. So,
Madam President, I would like to pull the high school MCHS policy. I have not gotten completely through that and checking it against our district policies. But I'm okay with all the rest of it.
There was a couple of things in the high school one that, I think maybe could have been more in alignment with some of the others, because there was like, as far as like the personal technology device policy, I really like a little more of a firm hand with how the middle school approach to it is. So I was wondering if maybe we could do a little more looking at seeing if we can update some, just a little bit with the high school. I think the dress code also,
Right.
I know it didn't include, I think the middle school said keeping covered certain areas, including the stomach, buttocks and whatever. And I would like that included in the high schools. I think crop tops were allowable in the high school. So that was just my thing. And then as far as like alignment, and Mr. Burris, maybe you can answer this question for me. How aligned with our district mission and vision should each one of these handbooks be?
they should be very aligned. And of course, we've done things so close together because I've been pushing with things that they're not real aligned with where we are with the mission and vision and the elements of the strategic plan. That should be something that they work on this next year and should be something that comes back. Really what we need to see, I think, with these handbooks is, can we support what's in the handbooks? And I know that I discussed one issue with all the board. I believe that there was something that I found difficult to comprehend and work with. And so I know that, you know, at some point in time, you have, you know, if we have a parent that comes and says, I don't believe in this policy, and we sit up here and go, I don't believe in it either, then that's problematic. So that's, again, why I wanted to bring this. And for today, I think more, and it's a good question, the alignment needs to be there. But for today, more of the, can we support what's in the handbooks? I understand you guys haven't seen handbooks in several years. Right?
Do these need to be done tonight or just before school starts?
These need to be done before school starts. This is not published in paper. that'll be another discussion that, you know, I'd like to have. Do we want to publish them and actually hand them to kids?
I like that idea.
So I would like
I
to
see
make a
that.
motion that we accept the handbooks with the exception of MCHS, and that comes back at our next meeting.
Okay.
Let me catch up with you.
Did you hear? Did you?
I'd like to, I mean, I think if we're gonna hold back the high schools, that we look at holding back the middle schools, just so we have
Comparison?
the comparison to do.
Because
So,
the middle schools was excellent.
yeah,
But I have, and I don't know if I haven't gone through it. I've had a ton of reading.
and I have the same
Same
concerns that
concerns.
Cody does.
And I think it was all well done. I just think, you know, if we're gonna be a little more strict on some portions, I think it'd be nice to have a kind of,
And it would be fluid from middle school to high school.
Right.
Where they're not,
Things to be
and I think it preempts a lot of like potential problems that we're already seeing that out. So.
So do you want to just bring it back, all of it, to the next board meeting?
I move the latest item of business on the table until next meeting.
Do I need
Ed, what was your motion?
Move
table?
the late on the table until next meeting.
I'll go ahead and give a second. Do I need a second that? Yeah.
Yeah, we need to vote on it. Yeah.
Let's have a second. Let's be voted on.
okay.
Doesn't give me a tape option, so we'll just leave it like it is. So it says not present at vote, but I'll go back and change it for the meeting.
Okay.
Everybody's learning.
Okay, so to move on.
Yes.
Okay.
So no, we have to vote. Well,
Do we have to vote to table it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go back.
Just.
Yes, it does. Okay. Well, I wrote it into it. Can you guys see my? It's my bad.
You're good.
Okay, Frazier.
Aye.
Hall,
Aye.
Hart,
Aye.
Aye.
Rice,
Aye.
Wells,
Aye.
Wright.
aye.
All right, action item H,
Look through it.
Montezuma-Cortez School District RE1 2022-23 proposed salary schedules.
Make a motion to accept the 22-23 proposed salary schedules.
Second.
They are what you gave to us the other night.
Correct. That's just changing that.
Are you finding, as far as from an HR perspective, is this helping?
You know, I would say most definitely yes, but with the cost of inflation, everything else rising.
Yeah.
It's keeping us.
We're gonna have trouble. Yeah.
We're not looking backwards, so.
That's true.
I guess we just need to keep going.
There's been a lot of gratitude for everything that's been offered to the employees thus far.
Okay.
For sure.
Frazier,
Aye.
Hall.
Aye.
Hart,
Aye.
Noise,
Aye.
Rice,
Aye.
Wells,
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Okay, action item I, supplemental budget request.
Madam President, I make a recommendation that we approve the
I thought we were on.
proposed budget. Yeah,
Oh, proposed budget, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
we went ahead.
Yep.
I make a recommendation that we approve the proposed budget as developed by Kyle Archibald. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't have any, oh, the supplemental budget is over on.
Yeah,
No.
We're on the
No.
proposed.
No, the supplemental, the proposed budget, the proposed budget.
Okay, yeah, so again, I provided you the latest budget, there's been no changes there. If there's any questions, I can try to answer, and then again.
Wait a minute.
We'll have the opportunity to, it's up above handbooks. I don't know how that changed.
Mine's not.
That's all right.
Mine's I.
Okay.
Oh, maybe it took that vote for.
There you go.
That's handbook.
We don't vote.
Trial and error.
We're working on it.
Either way, I think it's there.
Just give us a couple months and we'll be like
That's right.
Mario and Andretti on these
That's right.
these tablets and.
I don't know what the
Thanks.
week, is it a salary schedule? Where's the salary schedule?
I think it was above that.
It's nice.
Right above it.
What's that we can do? Okay, sorry, we are going backwards. in time
Yeah.
here.
Okay, yeah, if there's any questions or anything I can answer, just keep in mind, there's gonna probably be some changes in the next few months. We'll address that and I'll keep you up to date on where everything's at there.
Appreciate
You
it.
need to read the appropriations resolution.
I can read those if you like, or
I don't have them.
They're in the Teresa.
It's in the, it's on your board docs, which is under proposed budget.
Oh, yeah, I don't have them in this. Oops. Just go ahead, Kyle, if you want.
You need it right here.
Oh,
Kyle, you're on proposed.
Proposed budget, huh?
Yeah.
Does it come with a resolution?
Yes.
Appropriation resolution, yeah.
Appropriation resolution, FY 22-23, it says.
There'll be a resolution to use beginning.
Yeah.
balance as well. All right, appropriation resolution fiscal year 2022-23. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of Montezuma-Cortez School District R1 and Montezuma County, that the amount shown for the following schedule be appropriated to each one as specified in the adopted budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023. General fund appropriation amount $20,529,199.25. Appropriation amount to technology fund $285,000. Appropriation amount to people activity fund $741,105. Appropriation amount to insurance reserve fund $256,548. Appropriation amount to the preschool fund $283,812. Appropriation amount to the food service fund, which is a special revenue fund, $1,164,000. Appropriation amount to government designated purpose grant funds, $13,896,418.70. Pupil activity special revenue fund, appropriation amount $300,000. Bond redemption fund, appropriation amount $1,410,508. Capital projects, capital reserve capital projects fund appropriation amount $3,005,750. And lastly, risk-related activity fund appropriation amount $3,502,168 for a total appropriation of $45,374,508.25. Adopted Tuesday, June 21st, 2022.
I make a motion that we accept the appropriation resolution.
Second.
Catches up with us.
This one's probably gonna be screwy because they're gonna have to vote on two
Yeah.
resolutions,
Yeah.
and one action, so. It might
Is there, so are you going to go ahead and read the resolution for the
read the next
beginning?
one.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Resolution to use beginning fund balance 22 fiscal year 2022-23. Whereas CRS 22-44-105 states that a budget newly adopted pursuant to this article shall not provide for expenditures or fund transfers or reserves in excess of available revenues and beginning fund balances. Whereas the Board of Education may authorize the use of a portion of the beginning fund balance in the budget, stating the amount to use, the purpose for which the expenditure is needed in the district's fund to ensure the use of the beginning fund balance will not lead to an ongoing deficit. Whereas the Board of Education has determined the beginning fund balances in the state of Colorado are sufficient to allow for the one-time expenditure and the actual not an ongoing deficit. Now therefore be it resolved in accordance with CRS 22-44-105. The Board of Education authorizes the use of the designated amounts for the fiscal year 2022-23 beginning fund balances for the following funds. Be it further resolved, the use of this portion of the beginning fund balances for the purpose set forth above will not lead to ongoing deficits in these funds adopted this Tuesday, June 21st, 2022. In accordance with CRS 22-44-105, Montezuma-Cortez School District, Oregon Board of Education authorizes the use of a portion of the fiscal year 22-23 beginning fund balances for the following funds. First is the Insurance Reserve Fund. Will be an amount of $55,998. Essentially, the reasoning here is expenditures will be more than the revenues we generate. I think in this case, the reason that amount is probably more is, as Ms. Eldridge explained earlier, our general liability is going to be around 220. I was anticipating it to be more than that. So in my budget, there's an anticipation for it to be around 250. So that's why there's that addition there. Food Service Special Revenue Fund, $219,440. Again, what will end up happening here is we have expenditure of revenues, but we have a fund balance that we need to spend down in that particular fund. So it's $219,440. Next is the Capital Reserve Capital Projects Fund. Again, we're looking at expenditures exceeding revenues in the amount of $412,663. This is what is essentially in our capital reserve budget to be spent. So again, this would just bring it back down to zero. We'll get aligned with what our capital reserve plan going forward is going to be, and then we'll readjust what we want to be in that separate reserve. And that total amount, total appropriation used beginning fund balance is $919,742.
So I'd like to add to my motion to accept the appropriation resolution 22-23 and resolution to use beginning fund balance 22-23.
Yeah, we have, there's a typo in here that we need.
The 2020-21.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So fix that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So the two resolutions are the appropriation resolution 22-23, and then the resolution to use begin fund balance. In case we're gonna vote on the first one, we're doing one at a time.
I just combined the two of
Oh,
them
you
just
did.
now. Yes.
With the change of the date in the beginning fund balance.
And ready? Frazier?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Hart?
Aye.
Noyes?
Aye.
Rice?
Aye.
Wells?
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Okay, they're both together.
Okay. Okay, action item J, the supplemental budget request for JOM / not Ute Tribe 21-22 for $24,013.19.
Madam President, I recommend we approve the supplemental budget request for $24,013.19. Mr. Archibald had a good opportunity to explain where that one was coming from a while ago.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Oh, I can, Kyle.
No, I mean, I All right. So this is a supplemental budget request for this fiscal year 21-22. Because again, the summary, this is donated funding that comes from the Mountain Tribe, and these funds will be used for program academic fees and other classroom supplies. The revenue is $24,013.19, and that's distributed at $6,000 amongst the schools for them to use it for different items. So that appropriation resolution be resolved by the Board of Education of School District number R1 in Montezuma County at the amount of $24,013.19 as shown above the appropriated fund 229 for the program year beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the supplemental budget request.
Second.
Taken a long time to put the vote on the screen. Frazier.
Aye.
Hall.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Noise.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Wells.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Action item K, supplemental budget request, additional at-risk for 21-22 for $23,739.74.
Madam President, I make a recommendation that we approve the additional funding request in the amount of $23,739.74.
All right, and this was additional funding from the legislation. This money is given to us based on the district's free and reduced student count numbers. So this money comes to us, and then if there are those individuals at the charter schools, they get a look through a piece of that, but most of those usually remain in the district. Right, be resolved by the Board of Education, school district number R1 in Montezuma County, that the amount of $23,739.74, as shown above, be appropriated to fund 100 for the program year beginning July 1, 2021, and ending June 30th, 2022.
So we've already spent the money?
No, we just received it last month.
But it says for the program year beginning July 1, 2021.
Right, we received it in this school year, so 21-22. That's still this school year.
And it ends next week.
Right, and this is general fund money, so it rolls. It's just a matter of, on my budget, I have to show that we received this revenue this year.
Okay. I make a motion to accept the supplemental budget for $23,739.74 for at-risk.
Second.
Frazier.
Aye.
Hall.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Noise.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Wells.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Action item L, capital reserve request for flooring for the Montezuma-Cortez Middle School, Mesa, and Manon in the amount of $521,548.
Madam President, I recommend that we approve the resolution for new flooring for the 3 schools at $521,548.
Just again, just as a reminder, this was a result of an RFP that we went out to in October. That award was approved by the board October 19th. What happened was we weren't able to install flooring till this summer. So we didn't know if it was going to happen before June 30th or after. So there are some invoices that could be ready now. So we just want to make sure that we have the money available now to spend just before July 1. So Montezuma-Cortez School District RE1 capital reserve request to the school board, data request 6/21/22. Funds available $737,432.30. Amount requested $521,548. Project description flooring at CMS Mesa and Manon, identified by needs assessment and health and safety. Rationale for request, we were provided multiple bids. Business office confirms funds are available, and the project is for maintenance and IT if needed. Whereas the administration has needed an additional $521,548 to purchase flooring at CMS Mesa and Manon, now therefore be resolved that $521,548 is authorized for expenditure from the capital reserve fund.
Did a motion, Lauren?
I make a motion that we accept this capital reserve request.
I second it.
Oh,
Don't have one more. You can may sit down.
It's not a resolution. No.
You may sit down.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Frazier.
Aye.
Hall.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Noise.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Wells.
aye.
Wright.
Aye. Okay, action item M, invitation to bid results, engineer design for Montezuma-Cortez Middle School, Beach Street, HVAC, $193,750.
Madam President, I recommend that we approve the ME&E engineering in the amount of $193,750. The chair and I both approve of that. And Jim. And Kyle.
So what I provided you was the bid tabulation sheet, and we only had one person, so it was just that one price. And I also provided you the proposal from ME Engineering, explains the outline of the services they provide, any contingencies of that nature. I had a really good conversation with the gentleman, and he does a lot of work for Durango School District and the hospitals and everything in Durango. So I feel pretty confident that he will lead us in the right direction.
I don't know, is this something that, I mean, are they, that we would need to be bonded or anything on this? Is it in there?
The past.
Yeah, we will. Essentially, that'll be part of once the board approves the
Okay.
board, then the contract will come and that'll be part of the contract.
And the completion date?
So that'll be part of the timeline at this point in time, because we're approving it now and we can start getting to work. What he explained to me is best case scenario is we can start ordering some of the items that we're going to use. Installation will probably take place next summer.
Excellent, okay.
But getting him on board now, we can order this stuff and get it ready so that we have it available. to
It may
install.
take a year.
Right,
Okay.
Says
and things are just getting more
spring, summer
expensive.
20 It says spring, summer 2023.
I just wanted to make sure that everybody, we've been burned a couple of times.
Right.
Okay.
I make a motion that we accept the ME and E proposal.
I second.
Frazier.
Aye.
Hall.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Noyes.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Wells.
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Action item N, policy revisions, first reading of the Colorado Association of School Boards entire core policy for adoption as Montezuma-Cortez School District RE1 policy.
We do not need, it's first reading, so we're good.
Okay. So we don't even have to vote on that. Okay.
This will come up in our next work session or in August.
July or August, yes, we will
So
adopt
I
it.
guess we don't vote.
No. We will adopt it and then we will vacate the other ones. What is the word they used, Deb, on the other?
It was.
Kick it out,
Repeal the other policies.
Okay.
retire it.
So we have policies in place.
So
Okay.
the second reading will be August.
Okay.
Right?
I'll be honest, I didn't make it through the entire document.
You read it last night, huh?
Oh, yeah, all 2,000 pages of it.
I don't know if August is
Made
enough
it,
time
made it
either.
to 1,997. It's been back into the-
And I don't know why Deb didn't print them out for us.
Alright. Okay, action item O, policy revisions, first reading, CBA/CBC, qualifications and powers, responsibilities of superintendent.
These two were part of the policies that we looked at with the policy group I have. There's just a couple changes there. One of them is grammatical, as I see it, and one addition. And again, first reading. So we don't need to do anything on those yet.
Action item P, policy revisions, first reading, CBB, recruitment of superintendent.
Same thing.
Same thing. Okay. All right.
These policies are also included in the CASB core group.
They will. So what these policies that I've looked at, like the class size and like Title IX, I'll look in the new policies and see what they have that address those. But I know like class size is not in there at all. So we will upload those with any policies that we've come to that need to be uploaded or changed. We will upload those into the CASB policy. And then any after that, if we want to change them, then they'll have to come back for 2 readings before the board. This is a complex process of switching over. We'll get it.
Okay, item Q, policy revision, second reading of policy AC-R-2, Title IX policy and procedures for sexual harassment.
I make a motion to accept the title, the ACR2 Title IX policy.
Second.
Frazier.
Aye.
Hall.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Noyes.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Wells.
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
And moving on to section 9, executive session.
I make a motion that we go into executive session pursuant to CRS 24-6-4024 F to discuss personnel matters regarding the superintendent performance and contract. I would like to invite the board, HR, and in a bit, Tom Burris.
8:37, Deborah, for that.
We need to vote
Did
on
somebody second?
Oh, somebody seconded.
Second. Oh, go ahead, Lane.
and a vote.
All right, who seconded?
Frazier.
Aye.
Hall.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Noyes.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Wells.
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
And can you give me the timing? 8:38.
And do we have something to record this with? Or
It's in the
in the front?
Yeah, okay.
Here.
Okay, please do. We will convene back into our regular meeting. Our executive session began at 8:38 and ended at 9:36. No decisions were made in executive session. Moving on to action item continued, number 10. A, extension of interim superintendent contract.
I make a, excuse me. I make a motion that we offer Mr. Burris a contract for 22, 23.
I second.
Prater.
Aye.
Paul.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Noise.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Wells.
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Thank you, board. It's a lot of fun working for you.
Thank you.
Thanks for that.
Okay.
And a great team that I have in the office.
Except
Thank
when
you.
it's accepted, huh?
Yeah, he didn't say he accepted.
I will adjourn this meeting at 9:40.
Um,
Thanks for waiting, guys.